Yes, swear the witness in.
She's indicated, my lord, she's speaking English.
Oh.
Full names and
Okay.
surnames, please.
Evelyn Tsepiso Motlhaping.
If you have any objection in taking the prescribed oath,
None at all.
you swear that the evidence you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing else but the truth. Raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
The witness is sworn in.
You may be seated if you want to.
I'll stand for now, my lord. Thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Motlhaping, what is your occupation?
I'm a principal court interpreter, my lord.
Isikhundla sami ke ngutolika ophetheke ubizwa ngokuthi principal court interpreter.
Where?
At Boksburg Magistrates.
Inkantolo ke yase Boksburg.
Can you briefly just put your career history on record? When did you become an interpreter?
I was appointed on the 1st of December 1997 at Benoni Magistrates Court.
Ngaqala ke nge-1 zika December 1997 Benoni.
At Benoni Magistrates.
Inkantolo ke yase Benoni.
And in 2005, I was then promoted to senior court interpreter.
Kwase kuthi ke ngo-2005 ngaba ke i-senior court interpreter.
In 2014, on the 3rd of February, I was then appointed as principal court interpreter.
2014.
2014. Yes.
Kwase kuthi ziwu-3 kuFebruary 2014 ngase ke ngiphushulwa ke isikhundla ngaba u-principal court interpreter.
Yes, and when did you join Boksburg Magistrate Court?
That is in 2014.
Kwinkantolo ke yase Boksburg ngiqale ukusebenza khona ke ngo-2014.
And in which forums have you performed duties? Which courts in terms of hierarchy?
Well, I have mainly interpreted in the district courts as well as the regional courts, my lord.
Inkantolo ke esengisebenze noma ke engitolike kuzona ke inkantolo ke e-magistrate court, e-district court kanye ke nase-regional court.
And if you had to split that period between the district court and the regional court, what would say the period is that you spent in the district court and in the regional court as an interpreter?
Well, my lord, I would say for the entire time that I have worked as an interpreter, I have interpreted in both the district and the regional courts.
Ngizothi ke kuso sonke ke isikhathi lesi ke ngisebenza ke nanje ngotolika ngisebenze kuzona zoyimbili ke le inkantolo e-district court kanye nase-regional court.
And what is your proficiency regarding languages? In which languages are you proficient?
English, obviously, isiZulu, Sesotho, Setswana, Sepedi, Chivenda. I'm reasonable in Chivenda, as well as Xitsonga.
Iwona ke wonke ke amalimi ke lawa aqeda ukwasho ke athi ke utolika ke noma ke akhona ukuthi awakhulume.
On the 24th of June 2020, were you on duty?
I was, my lord.
Yebo ke ngangisemsebenzini ngazo i-24 zika 24 June 2020. 24 zika June 2020 ngangisemsebenzini.
I just want to show you a document, Exhibit JJ, page 8 thereof. Or maybe even before we get to page 8, page 1 of Exhibit JJ. It's indicated that Ms. Evelyn Tsepiso Motlhaping was the interpreter during the proceedings as reflected in Exhibit JJ. What is your comment?
That is correct, my lord.
Kuyiqiniso ke nanje makubhaliwe ke lana ukuthi ke kwakuyimina ke umuntu waye utolika.
From which language to which language were you interpreting?
English to isiZulu and vice versa.
ukusuka ke kwisingisi ke kuye ke kwisizulu nokubuyisana ukusuka kwisizulu ukubuyisela kuyona ke English.
If I can then refer to page 9 of Exhibit JJ, the pro forma, there is a signature there in the middle of the page. Whose signature is that?
It is my signature.
Mina ke lana ke ku page 9 owasayinda.
Can you just read into the record what stands above your signature?
Okay. It says here certificate by interpreter.
No, page 8.
Page 8.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, the statement is also signed by the interpreter. This is what's written above my signature.
Okubhaliwe ke la ngaphezulu nje kwala engasayinda khona ukuthi istatement lesi sasayindwa ke na uyena uTolika.
Right, and page 9.
Okay.
Yes, can you just put...
Certificate by interpreter. I, Evelyn Tsepiso Motlaping, certify that in terms of Section 217 of the Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977, as amended, I have interpreted truly and correctly and to the best of my ability with regard to both the contents of the statement and everything said by the magistrate.
Lana ke kubhaliwe ukuthi certificate lesi sakhe uTolika mina uEvelyn Tsepiso Motlaping ngiyasho ke ngako ke okukhona ke umthethosisekelo usection 217 wawo ke umthetho Act 51 1977 ukuthi ngitolikile ke ngokuqiniso futhi ke ngendlela futhi ngokwazi kwami ke ngokumayelana ke naloko okubhaliwe ke kusona istatement kanye nako konke okwashiwo uyena uMantshi.
Ms. Motlaping, can you just explain what was the process that was followed when this statement was taken? When was this exhibit signed?
The presiding officer started with the completion of the pro forma, and thereafter moved on to the statement. I think the whole thing was signed after the statement was taken down.
Lana ke okwenzeka ke ukuthi ke uMagistrate ke waqala ke ngaloko kubiza ukuthi pro forma wase endlulela ke kusona ke istatement ukuthi ke kusayindwe yonke into ke kwasayindwa kamu uma seqedwe konke.
And if you look from page 1, every page is initialed.
That is correct.
When was this done?
This was done after the completion of the taking down of the statement.
Uma ubheka ke ku page ke ngayodwa ke lapha ezansi ke akusayindwanga kodwa kubekwe nje ama initials ukuthi nalapho ke kwenziwa lokho uma seqedwe istatement.
Except on page 4, the initials of the interpreter.
I see I missed that part, yes.
Ngiyabona ke ku page 4 ukuthi angizange ngikwenzeke lokho ukuthi ama initials wami bafake lapha.
Can you remember where the deponent got the pen from that he used to sign to initial and sign the exhibit JJ?
I gave him a pen.
Lona ke wayenza istatement yake ukuthi ipen wayithola kuphi ke initial ke imina owamnikeza ipen.
Ms. Motlaping, can you perhaps still remember this incident?
Well, I think I do, even though I cannot recall every single thing, but I do recall.
Ngicabanga ukuthi ke ngisakhumbuleke ngalesi sehlakalo lesi noma ke ngingasakhumbuli yonke into nje kodwa ngicabanga ukuthi ke yebo ngisakhumbula.
Can you perhaps in your own words tell the court what happened on the day insofar as you can remember?
Well, yes, my lord. If I should start from the beginning, I was approached by the senior prosecutor who informed me that...
it's fine. You were approached by the senior prosecutor. Is it correct that it was with a request?
Yes, yes.
Kweza ke umshushisi ophethe ke mina enesicelo
Yes, and what happened further? You need not disclose what the discussion with the senior prosecutor was.
And I waited until about 2 o'clock because I was informed that the people would arrive at 2 o'clock.
Ngase ngimake ngilinda ke kuze kushaye ke ihora lesibili ngoba ngatshelwa ukuthi abantu labo bazofika ke ngehora lesibili.
When I went to check if they had arrived, I was then informed that they were not there yet.
Uma sengiya ke ngiyobheka ke ukuthi sebefikile yini, ngase ngitshela ukuthi cha babe
Yes. So
ngikafiki.
you established that they were not there as yet.
Yes, they were not.
Yes.
I was then called by the secretary to the senior magistrate,
Ngase ngibizwa ke umabhalanazi noma usekretary ke wayo imantshi ephethe.
and this was towards 2:30.
Kwakusezoshaya ke noma sothi ke sezoshaya ke 2:30.
Yes. What happened? You may not disclose what the secretary to the senior magistrate told you. What happened thereafter?
Yes, I then proceeded to where the said confession was to be done.
Ngase ngiya ke lapho ke konke ke ekwakuzokwenzeka khona ke.
And where was that?
That was in room number 2.
Lapho ke kwaku room number 2.
Yes. What happened further?
And as I came towards room number 2, I then saw a number of people standing outside the office.
Ngathi mase ngiya ke lapho ke ku room 2 ngabona ke nje kunabantu ke nje ababalwa ke abemi lapho ke ngaphandle kwelo office lelo.
Were they identifiable?
Some of them, yes.
Abanye babo ke kwakungabantu ke okungasho ongasibakhomba noma asithi ke babegqoke izinto okungabakhomba.
Yes. How were they identifiable?
They were Metro Police officers clad in uniform.
Kwakuamaphoyisa ke emetro noma ke metro police babegqoke i-uniform.
Yes. And where were they at that stage?
They were standing just outside office number 2 in the passage.
Babemi nje ngaphandle ke kwa office le number 2 kuyona ke passage le.
Yes.
And there was also a person who was in handcuffs,
Wayekhona ke nowayefakwe ozamhosi.
and there was also a gentleman who was standing among all of those people who was, well, clad in a suit.
Wayekhona ke nomunye nje umlisa owayemi phakathi kwalabo bantu labo wayegqoke isuit.
And where precisely was this gentleman in a suit standing?
He was also standing in the passage, but slightly on the side, on the side from where the Metro officials were standing.
Wayemi lapho ke ku passage leyo ke nalowo wegqoke isuit kodwa ngathi nje eceleni kula ama metro police ayemi khona.
Yes, you may proceed.
And well, shortly thereafter, we then proceeded to the office, in office number 2. That was myself and the presiding officer.
Akubanga ke isikhathi eside emuva kwalokho sasesingenake kulelo office mina ke kanye naye imantshi.
And who was the presiding officer?
It was Mrs. Vivian Cronier.
Kwaku Mrs. Vivian Cronier.
The witness who has just stood down.
That is correct.
Ufakazi lona ke uqeda ukwehla manje.
Yes.
The person in handcuffs was also led into the office.
Lona ke owayefakwe ozamhosi naye ke wase ngeniswa ke naye e-office.
Who led him into the office?
I think it was one of the police officials, one of the officials.
Ngicabanga ukuthi kwakuwomi elinye ke lamaphoyisa yena ke owamfaka.
Yes.
And the gentleman clad in a suit also came into the office.
Lona ke owayegqoke isuit naye wangena ngaphakathi e-office.
Yes. I think this is where the presiding officer asked one of the police officials, if I'm not mistaken, my lord, I think he was the investigating officer or of the matter or something, but she requested him to make copies of his appointment certificate.
Ngicabanga ukuthi ngaleso sigaba-ke ila khona-ke imanje yase icela-ke omunye wamaphoyisa ayelapho ngicabanga ukuthi-ke ilona owumphenyi-ke noma-ke umseshi-ke wecala ukuthi-ke alethe-ke i-certificate noma amtshengise-ke i-certificate sakhe somsebenzi.
And this is after he introduced himself to the presiding officer.
Kwakusemuva-ke kokuthi eyichazile-ke noma eyishilo-ke kuyena-ke kuyona imanje ukuthi ubani.
Yes.
After he brought the copies of the
Use one of those other bins for your plastics and motivate others to do the same. Then visit millionplusrecyclers.co.za.
Yes.
And just before we could start, I remember the presiding officer had a conversation with the gentleman. I mentioned earlier that he was dressed in a suit.
Ngaphambilini kokuthi njena siqaleke ngiyakhumbula ukuthi imanje yaba nako-ke ukuxoxisana noma-ke ukukhuluma nalomlisa-ke engimshilo ngaphambilini ukuthi wayegqoke isuit.
Could you hear what the nature of the conversation was?
Well, as far as I can recall, I think she was asking him who he was.
Uma ngikhumbula kahle ngicabanga ukuthi imanje yayimbuza-ke ukuthi wayewubani.
Yes.
And the gentleman said that he was the legal representative of the suspect at the time.
Wase eyichaza-ke ukuthi uwummeli womsolo kwawumsolwa-ke ngaleso sikhathi leso.
And this was confirmed by the suspect himself after he was asked by the presiding officer.
Lokho-ke kwase kuqinisekiswa-ke uyena umsolwa emukamuva kokuthi-ke imanje-ke ibuza kuyena-ke naye-ke waqinisekisa impela ukuthi impela kunjani.
Yes.
I think after all the pleasantries were done, we then proceeded with the business of the day.
Ngicabanga ukuthi emuva kokuthi konke-ke sekwenziwe-ke sekuqaliwe-ke sase siqala-ke ngalokho-ke okwakusihlanganise lapho ngalelo langa.
And who was present in the office at that stage when you proceeded with the business of the day?
It was myself, the presiding officer, the gentleman as described before, and the suspect.
Kwakuyimina, kwakuyimanje, nalomlisa-ke bese ngichazile ngaphambilini kanye nomsolwa ababekhona-ke ngaphakathi kulelo office lelo.
Do you perhaps remember what the sitting arrangement was in the office?
Yes, I do.
Ngisakhumbula-ke ukuthi kwakuhlezwe kanjani ngalelo langa kulelo office.
Who was seated where?
The presiding, as I'm standing here, my lord, the presiding officer would have been in front on the other side of the table.
Nanjengoba ngimi lana-ke imanje yona-ke yayizoba-ke ngaphambili-ke kwitafula.
I was sitting on to my left, and the suspect was sitting on my right.
Mina ngathi-ke ngangihlezi kuhlangothi-ke lakwesokunxele bese ukuthi umsolwa-ke ehlezi kuhlangothi lami lwangakwesokudla.
Sorry, just if you can, in relation to the presiding of the Ms. Grenier, how were you each seated?
Well, in relation to Ms. Grenier, because then she would be facing this side, then that means the suspect would have been to her left and I would have been to her right.
Uma-ke uMrs. Grenier wayengalena-ke kwetafula-ke umsolwa-ke wayezoba-ke ku-left wakhe mina ngibe ku-right wakhe uMrs. Grenier.
Yes.
And the gentleman in a suit was sitting on my left-hand side because there's a couch in office number 2 that's on the left-hand side.
La engangihlezi khona ke lona ke wayegqoke isuit yena ke wayehlezi ke ku left wami ngoba ke kwakune couch eyikhona kulelo kamera leleke number 2.
Yes, but in relation to the suspect, where was the gentleman in the suit seated?
I was between them. He was on the left hand side, the suspect was on my right hand side.
Mina ke ngangihlezi phakathi nendawo ukubona bobabili lona ke wayegqoke isuit kanye naye ke umsola. Yena ke lo wesuit ku left umsola yena eku right wami.
And what was your overall impression about the suspect? It has been put to Ms. Grenier that the suspect was coerced, assaulted. What was your overall impression?
My lord, my overall impression was that, of course, looking at the demeanor of the suspect at the time, he appeared to me like somebody who really wanted to speak whatever it was that he wanted to say.
Mina ke ngendlela ke wayebukeka ngayo ke bhekeka ngayo ke umsolo wakhe ngalelo langa lelo ke ukuthi kwakuwumuntu onalentshisakalo ke ofisayo noma ufunayo ukukhuluma nama yini leyo wayefuna noma efisa ukuthi ayisho ngalelo langa lelo.
And are you able to perhaps say why you were of that view?
Well, because if I may just fast forward a bit, when the rights were explained to him, and the fact that he was not compelled in any way to make a statement, his specific words were, I really wanted to, I really want to speak. I just want to say this. If I can say it in Zulu, my lord, he said, "Thasisi, ngifuna ukuqhubeka ngikhulume."
Uma ke amalungelo akhe esewachazelwa ke sekushiwo ke noma ukuthi ke futhi akaphoqelekile ukuthi ke asho lutho noma ke akhulume ke kwakuyena ke othi ngiyafuna ukusho lokho washo lamagama ke usisaqedwe kwasho manje esho ngesizulu. No lady, I really want to speak.
And do you remember if the suspect had any injuries?
Not at all, sir.
Ukulimala noma ke amanqaba cha ayengekho nje wayengenabo ukulimala wayena.
Sorry, that question is, the answer is ambiguous. As you,
Yes.
not at all. Do you remember if the suspect had any injuries?
Oh.
Not at all, sir.
I apologize. my
Yeah,
lord.
well, it's double senach.
Yes. Can you
No, my lord, I did not see any injuries on the suspect.
Cha ke akukho nje ukulimala maka amanqaba engawabona noma amanqaba engawabona mina kuyena umsolo.
It was also put by the defense to Ms. Grenier that the suspect did not sign the statement, Exhibit JJ. What is your comment?
He signed it in my presence because I'm the one that gave him the pen.
Istatement lesi wasayinda ngikhona imina owamnikeza ipen.
Thank you, my lord. That is all.
Thanks. What's the time, Mr. Balan? Can we,
15 minutes.
yeah. 15 minutes. Mr. Baloyi.
We're through with the examination in chief.
Oh, you're through. Okay. Mr. Mgomezulu, any cross?
Call please, my lord. Before we start with the business of the day, may I just ask you to explain the difference between translation due to your experience. Translation as opposed to interpretation.
Okay. With interpretation, my lord, what we do is you convey the idea intended by the speaker.
Uma ke utolika dlulisa lokho ke okuhloswe iloyo osuke ekhuluma.
And with translation, you take it word for word.
Futhi ke uma khulunywa ke nge-translation ke ila uthatha ke igama ngegama.
And translation is mostly done on documents.
Futhi ke uma khulunywa ke ngo-translator ila khulunywa khona ke ngephepha lokho kufanele kubhalwe phansi.
So in relation, sorry, I'll afford you that. In relation to what we've just said about translation and documents, does that also relate to the pro forma that was completed?
The translation of documents, I did not get the question clearly, sir.
So if you define translation as when you translate from word to word, and you further mentioned about documents, so do you also refer to the document that is we are dealing with at the moment?
In this instance?
Yes.
No, my lord. In this case, because there's a speaker, my job is to basically convey the idea intended by the speaker, to interpret, not to translate what the speaker says.
Lana ke kule document esikhuluma ngayo ke manje akuseyona ke i-translation esiyenza ngoba kunomuntu okhulumayo yila udlulisa khona ke lokho okuhloswe ilo okhulumayo akuseyona ke manje ukutranslate kodwa ke ukutolika.
So during the process of interpreting, from the experience that you have you not picked up a sentence or a paragraph that is susceptible to two meanings?
Yes, I have you, my lord.
Yebo kuyiqiniso ke ukuthi ke ekusebenzeni kwami ke uyathola noma ke uyayithola ke isentence ke la kungasho khona ke ukuthi usho okubili.
What is your role as an interpreter in the event that there is ambiguity or there is double meaning on that particular sentence?
As an interpreter, my role would be to get clarity from the speaker, and in so doing, I would obviously ask for the court's indulgence to allow me to clarify from the speaker what they intend saying.
Nanjengotolika ke okwami la khona ke uzwayo ukuthi lokho awunaso isiqiniseko kusho ukuthini, kungasho lokho kungasho nalokho. Ngiyabuza ke noma ngicele ke angichazele ke lona kodwa ngaphambili kokuthi ngikwenzeke lokho ngikhulumisana ke naye ke umehluleli noma ke imantshi ngithi ke inikeze imvume yokuthi ke ngicele lana ukuthi ngichazele ukuthi kusho ukuthini lokho.
I beg leave to the honorable court for you to read from the statement. It says certificate of interpreter. Can we go to that page, please?
Certainly.
Certificate of interpreter. Can you please, all right, before I ask a question on this aspect, the content of this wording or what is contained in your certificate, has it been explained to the deponent? Did you explain it to the deponent before you attached your signature?
No, my lord.
Lokho okubhalwe lana ukuthi ke manje mina noma lokho okubhalwe certificate saye utolika akusona ke into engichazile kuyena lona benze statement ngaphandle kokuthi ngiyisign.
Do you have the reason why you did not explain it to him?
I do not.
Isizathu sokuthi ngakwenzanga lokho anginaso.
So Was it important for you to explain it? Or was it an omission on your part to explain it?
No, my lord, because I have never had to explain the contents of the certificate to the deponent or anybody for that matter.
Ngoba akazi ke ngaphambilini sibe khona ke isidingo noma kwenzeke ukuthi le ndawo lena ke la uthi khona ke i-certificate sayo ke interpret noma utolika ukuthi kufanele ngiyitolike kuyo ke owenza i-statement.
From your observation, when you appended your signature on this certificate, did it come to your attention or did it come to your mind as to whether the deponent might be curious as to what you are signing?
If I may ask, my lord, is it only with regards to the certificate?
In regards to the certificate?
No, my lord.
Mina ke akazi kube yonto ke kuyinto efikayo ke ukuthi mhlasimbe ke angafisa ukuthi azike ukuthi yini le ndawo engiyisayindayo.
So the certificate, the person who's making a certificate, okay, sorry, may I rephrase like this? The person that you were engaged to render such services, you were to translate or to interpret what the deponent had to say. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Lana ke kwakuwukuthi mina ke ngindlulisa lokho okushiwo ilona owenza ke statement lesi.
Okay. May I ask you to read again the certificate of interpreter, then and ask you to translate it in Zulu for the benefit of accused number 2.
I, Evelyn Tepiso Motlaping, certify that in terms of Section 217 of the Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977 as amended, I have interpreted truly and correctly and to the best of my ability with regard to both the contents of this statement and everything said by the magistrate.
Can you translate that in Zulu, please?
Translate or interpret it in
Zulu? Interpret it for me, please.
Okay. Mina Evelyn Tepiso Motlaping ngiyaqinisekisa ukuthi ke ngokomthetho isection 217 Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977 njengoba iguquliwe ngitolike ngokweqiniso kanti futhi ngitolike okweqiniso nangakho konke okusemandleni ami noma ke yes nangakho konke okusemandleni ami mayelana ke nako kokubili okubhaliwe kule statement kanye nako konke okukhulunywe imanje.
Okay. So in other words, according to your understanding, this certificate to your satisfaction, because I've noted that the statement that has been made by the magistrate, can you give clarity to that?
No, my lord. It says here with regards to.
Can you read it again if you don't understand? There's something you mentioned about the statement.
Can I read the whole statement or just that part?
Okay. May I ask the indulgence of the courts for all the parties to understand?
Okay.
Yes, to
All right.
read the whole
Statement again.
Statement
okay,
again.
Sure. The certificate rather. Okay.
Maybe, sorry, my lord, maybe I'll stop you somewhere where it makes sense or relevance for the question.
Okay.
For the?
Where it makes sense or relevant for the question, my lord.
Oh, I see.
Can I just go through the interpretation thereof, my lord, or should I read in English first and
No,
then
read it in English.
Okay.
Please forget about Zulu now. Ne?
Okay.
Just English.
All right.
Yeah.
I, Evelyn Tepiso Motlaping, certify that in terms of Section 217 of the Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977 as amended, I have interpreted truly and correctly and to the best of my ability with regards to both the contents of this statement.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me stop there. The contents of the statement. Did you underline that?
Yes.
All right. Then we'll proceed further.
Okay.
I just wanted you to note that you said the contents
Of the
the statement.
Okay.
Thank you. Proceed.
And everything said by the magistrate.
Yes, and everything said by the magistrate. In other words, I'm subject to correction. You said to the satisfaction of the contents of the statement. Is that correct?
To the satisfaction of the statement, no, sir.
To the satisfaction of the contents of the statement.
I have interpreted truly and correctly and to the best of my ability with regards
With regards,
to
yes.
both the contents of this statement and everything said by the magistrate.
Lana ke ithi ke ngitolike kahle ke futhi nangeqiniso mayela ke mayela naloku okubhaliwe kusona istatement kanye nako konke okushiwo yimanje.
Okay. Was the statement according to that interpretation made by the magistrate?
No, please.
No.
No, wait.
May,
Now, let's read the Criminal Procedure Act first, 217. Because as I understand this certificate is enjoining the interpreter in terms of the act. And when it says statement, it means after everything which has been said and done by the magistrate, which she alleges she has interpreted, and then she signs the certificate after everything has been done, not before. Okay, that's how I understand this.
my lord, I have a different understanding.
Why don't we read where they talk about the powers which enjoin her to interpret?
I beg your pardon?
An interpreter. Who appoints an interpreter? Who appoints an interpreter? As I recall, it's in terms of the legislation.
That's correct.
That's it. Let's read that first. Otherwise, we'll be here the whole day. Let's read the enabling statute which appoints her. And then we can decide whether she has complied or not. You want us to adjourn, sir?
We can adjourn, my lord, but may I clarify this aspect? I'm not contesting the appointment per se. I'm not contesting the compliance
What are you
with the attachment.
What are you contesting?
I'm concerned about the interpretation of the last, especially where she says with regards to the contents of the statement made by the magistrate. That's where my concern is, my lord. Not about her appointment. If we read it carefully, we can have, because
No, you're misreading it. I certify, in terms of section 2117 of the Criminal Procedure Act 5177 as amended, I have truly and correctly and to the best of my ability, with regard to both the contents of this statement and everything that was said by the magistrate.
the contents.
Yeah, that's what the certificate says. Both.
The understanding, she will differ with me if I put it like this. According to my understanding, I'm putting to you that the certificate was supposed to say with regards to the contents, both the contents and of the deponent or of the person who was taking a confession. Was I wrong if I say instead of being a magistrate we say the deponent? Was I wrong by saying that?
I think, as far as I can understand your question, sir,
Yes.
with regards to this sentence, it doesn't refer to the contents of the statement being made by the magistrate. It just refers to the contents of the statement and everything else said by the magistrate.
Uma
Okay.
ngifunda lana ke lana akukhulumi ngestatement esenziwa yimanje. Sithi lana ke lokhu okubhaliwe kusona istatement kanye nako konke okushiwo yimanje.
Okay, thank you for that answer.
You're welcome, sir.
Then let's get into paragraph 1A. You said it has been explained or it has been interpreted to the deponent. Paragraph 1A.
That is correct.
Can you read it for me, please?
I am a magistrate and that I am not in any way involved in the investigation against him, that I do not work with the police or any other person in this case, and that he can speak freely and without fear in my presence.
Lana ke u1A uthi ngiyimanje futhi ke angiyimbandakanyeki ke uphenyo ngakwena noma kuloko okuphenywa ngakwena, futhi ke angisebenzi namaphoyisa noma yimuphi umuntu okuleli cala leli, nokuthi ke ungakhuluma ngokukhululekile futhi ke ungesabi phambi kwami noma ngikhona.
All right. Being an interpreter, if you interpret such a statement, does it not have elements of a promise? Reread it if you want to.
I'm a magistrate and that I am not in any way involved in the investigation against him, that I do not work with the police or any other person in this case, and that he can speak freely and without fear in my presence.
There's a witness, I don't know if the witness being asked for an opinion, which I think it's irrelevant.
Yeah, because
it is just to
can you get us the Magistrates Court Act, please, where they tell us when and how is an interpreter appointed? There's a section there, is that not?
32 of 1934.
Yeah. Let's read it. You have it, sir?
It's quickly before for it.
No, I wanted to clarify clarity in terms of that, because what is important is the understanding, because she said